Always speak of it, never think of it. Now that depth psychology, with the help of films, soap operas, and horny, has delved into the deepest recesses, people's last possibility of experiencing themselves has been cut off by organized culture. Ready-made enlightenment turns not only spontaneous reflection but also analytical insights, whose power equals the energy and suffering that it costs to gain them, into mass-produced articles, and the painful secrets of the individual history, which the orthodox method is already inclined to reduce to formulae into commonplace conventions. Dispelling rationalizations becomes itself rationalization. Instead of working to gain self-awareness, the initiates become adept at subsuming all instinctual conflicts under such concepts as inferiority complex, mother fixation, extroversion, and introversion, to which they are in reality inaccessible. Terror before the abyss of the self is removed by the consciousness of being concerned with nothing so very different from arthritis or sinus trouble. Thus, conflicts lose their menace. They are accepted, but by no means cured, being merely fitted as an unavoidable component into the surface of standardized life. At the same time, they are absorbed as a general evil by the mechanism directly identifying the individual with social authority, which has long since encompassed all supposedly normal modes of behavior. Catharsis, unsure of success in any case, is supplanted by pleasure at being, in one's own weakness, a specimen of the majority, and rather than gaining, like inmates of a sanatorium in former days, the prestige of an interesting pathological case, one proves on the strength of one's very defects that one belongs, thereby transferring to oneself the power and weight and vastness of the collective. Narcissism, deprived of its libidinal object by the decay of the self, is replaced by the masochistic satisfaction of no longer being a self, and the rising generation guards few of its goods so jealously as its selflessness, its communal and lasting possession. The realm of reification and standardization is thus extended to include its ultimate contradiction, the ostensibly abnormal and chaotic. The incommensurable is made precisely as such, commensurable, and the individual is now scarcely capable of any impulse that he could not classify as an example of this or that publicly recognized constellation. However, this outwardly assumed identification, accomplished as it were beyond one's own dynamic, finally abolishes not only genuine consciousness of the impulse, but the impulse itself. The latter becomes the reflex of stereotyped atoms to stereotyped stimuli, switched on or off at will. Moreover, psychoanalysis itself is castrated by its conventionalization. Sexual motives, partly disavowed and partly approved, are made totally harmless, but also totally insignificant. With the fear they instill vanishes the joy they might procure. Thus, psychoanalysis falls victim to the very replacement of the appropriate superego by a stubbornly adopted, unrelated external one that it taught us itself to understand. The last grandly conceived theorem of bourgeois self-criticism has become a means of making bourgeois self-alienation, in its final phase, absolute, and of rendering ineffectual the lingering awareness of the ancient wound, in which lies hope of a better future.